energy today. Today is January 24th, and we're doing the Ryan's Wisdom channeling group. And the universal law today is the law of compensation. The law is the law of cause and effect applied to blessings and abundance that are provided for us. The visible effects of our deeds are given to us in gifts, money, inheritance, friendship, and blessings.
And greetings, and we meet again.
Hello, hello. Are you laughing with us?
It is always good to be here, especially when you are in the act of enjoying yourself in the most greatest ways possible. That is where you bring much of your light in. You are practicing this very well before this particular session, and we do appreciate that sort of setting coming in. It is a very beautiful one. It is one that we would love to see more often, and it is not something that also you have not done it right in the past. You have always been well here received, and it has been a wonderful energy in this particular place. May we dim the lights.
There are a few more lights on
I
today.
know, I forgot to turn them off, sorry.
Oh, much better.
Is that better?
The law of cause and effect. It is much simpler, and it is much of what the discussions have been in recent times. It is the vibration that you are holding within yourselves that creates the cause. It creates what it is that you want as the cause in your life, the cause of what is. And you are bringing that forth into the effect of your energy that precedes you, that vibration that you're a part of, those emotions that you feel. Speaking of emotions, we are dealing with certain emotions the Keeper has now. It is his son's birthday. He made him his favorite brownie pan and ate almost half of it. So we are dealing with certain vibrations as we are speaking now.
A stomach full of brownies.
He looks forward to birthdays.
Now there's some compensation there.
Were those regular brownies or were they special brownies?
They were triple chocolate chunk
Yay!
brownies. You see, you have a mixed vibrations that you are creating for yourselves. Sort of like the recipe itself, it is throughout all of the things that you think about, all of the cumulations that you are involved, all the belief systems that are in conjuncture with all that you do, that creates the world that you live in, the reflection that you have. The yin and the yang effect would be more or less of the way that you are feeling inside and the way it is coming about, the cause and effect of things. Now, we're not saying that there is quite the yin and yang of things, that you are here to learn a certain lesson, although many of you have come back in your certain fashions to understand things again in this life, or to see if you can master something that was a trouble before, because you feel that you can come through it a little bit differently, a little bit more of congruent to what it is that is within you about the situation. But we're not also saying that this is something you have come to do, but you have come to become the masters of your life, to become the experience and the experiencer, and to understand what it is that you would like to have with these experiences. The cause and effect reality, as you can see within your own dynamics, as you have structures in your own places throughout this world where you have the rich, the poor, and the middle class, you see that things are not always even, and you have put yourselves in these own structures, even your own income brackets, for certain reasons, for the belief systems that you have associated with for instance, having a lot of money or not having a lot of money. It is also the struggle that you may see with accumulating money. And we don't quite share the same type of view, as you will understand that you are equally involved and equally allowed such abundance to you. It is just the vibrations that you have that brings out these effects within yourselves. So, as you are taking the manual controls back, what is it you want to apply to yourself? The life that you would like to prefer to live throughout your particular time and being here on this earth. As you already understand and are reaching to these understandings about yourself, new flavors of reality will come to be. For these are vibrations that are hidden within yourselves, that this leading edge of this bubble of biology that you have here is producing itself through its own emotions of what it loves and what it does not love. Just like the brownies he loves. There is a consequence to these things. But you must understand the whole understanding of the whole thing. For it is how you also view each of these components that creates some of the reality. How you view a brownie, for instance, whether what it does to you also creates some of those things. What it does when you have these thoughts, and the thoughts about these thoughts, and the conjunctures of the belief systems about these thoughts create the complex reality that you are involved in and that you are practicing being your own creators at. So that is the gist of what we are talking about here in a nutshell, and we will open this up for questions.
Could you talk for a minute? I think what the title subject was compensation, and is compensation a direct effect or from the cause and effect? Or is there really a difference in compensation because of cause and effect?
There is a difference here. Compensation is more or less is very similar in nature. What you reap, you sow. You've heard many of these different types of things. Compensation is going to be slightly different in the matters of understanding what the effects will be in terms of what are you compensated for vibrationally that you are putting out each day. What is it that you are compensated for in terms of what you are expecting? If you also see in these dynamics of relationships, if one person is giving and giving and giving, eventually these things fall apart, for there's not quite a balance, and so there is a lack of compensation that is taking effect in certain areas. Creating this balance of compensation is not always going to be equal, but it is going to be equal to your vibration of what it is that you are involved with.
Is that, when talking about the giving and giving and giving, is that because a lot of people who do a lot of giving, they don't understand receiving and don't take it when it's offered, or don't see that it's appropriate?
It could be that, but you could also have multiple realities where they are enjoying giving and giving and giving, and they are receiving something back energetically. They are receiving something back that they are wishing to understand or wishing to see. That you are usually getting something back when it is equal. But if it is something they are giving energy into and giving energy, it's more like a chronic way of thinking. And some people with the addictions and things like that are involved with that a little bit differently. It is a repeated process where they are expecting something different to happen, and yet they still try again over and over again to try to create a new reality out of those things, although because it is part of their link to their belief systems once again.
I like that concept of addiction, because addiction is a very big thing on this planet. I think we're only beginning to understand the root of what that is, and you just really touched on something very big. I appreciate that. Could you go a little deeper into how that works?
we aren't saying entirely that addiction is entirely bad either. For to have a chronic way of looking at things that you absolutely enjoy can be also an addiction. But it can also take over parts of your life to where it is distracting and creates imbalances, where things don't seem to flow as well. For you have the whole life that you are trying to balance here as humans, which is very chaotic as it is. And so when you are chronically already addicted to something, it becomes a little bit harder sometimes if it is not managed well enough. Having strong addictions to certain things, whether it be food, whether it be drugs, whether it be any of those many array of things, we are not judging whether they are good or bad necessarily, but there are consequences to be overly understanding and overly into certain things. These events do take up much of your life, but again, what is it that you enjoy to put your energy into? What is it that you want to become? Overall, you want to be an expanded form, a being. And if you are only narrowing all of your focuses into one area, you are expanding this area, yes, but not the entirety of who you are. For you are not just this one thing. You are many of these things, and you will discover more and more of yourselves as you are doing naturally on a daily basis through this contrast of reality, allowing yourself new preferences, new wants, and new desires to experience more of the expansionness of this world, which has been rapidly changing for quite some time. It is like getting a brand new phone. It is the features that it provides you. It is the new reality that you are experiencing with computers and all the things that are available at the fingertips now. It is all these different realities playing out, and you are seeing more and more and more. And hey, what else can we do with this? And that is bringing naturally more of yourself, tuning into more of what you can become, that is becoming of all the things that are here. And as this is happening, the improvement of all is overall happening. So being too narrowed in one subject can limit you in certain degrees, but yet it can also blossom certain things. For if you shift a focus and become more chronically in thinking a certain way, it can start peeling away and coring down to who it is that you are enjoying, that is the joy of you. And if you are doing some of those things, you are altogether reaping and sowing something completely entirely different, to where even your friends may not even understand who you are anymore, because you are another type of vibration that you weren't before. And you are chronically looking at things in a different way, and that can be an awakening too.
Well, I'm kind of that way. I chronically look at growing spiritually.
All beings are.
Yeah.
And along that same lines, there are people who, let's say, are in service to others, and they give addictively, let's say, but in their giving, they can get enough back whereby they maintain the balance, and in that, not have it be an addiction, but just have it be a way of life that is very fulfilling for them. Is that a true statement?
Yes, it is a true statement. Life is not equal. You know this already. You see those that you say, oh, have a silver spoon in their mouth. You see those that have different things going for them, but they have arranged themselves in such a fashion, and they have also preluded much of their energy before, many times, in most cases, before this life, to become these certain ways and beings, to allow themselves such experiences. And you are online with any array of futures that you are on track with, being in the moment, being understanding that you are in control now. And when you truly understand that you are in control in every moment that you are in, and we're not saying to always monitor your thoughts, but to monitor more or less your feelings, and to understand where you are at, gauging yourself throughout the day, gauging yourself throughout, hey, was this a positive, more positive day than before? And what did I enjoy about this particular day? You are commanding now the moments of moments. You are preluding the energy and deciding your futures. You are deciding the dreams that are going to be for you. And you are undoing or redoing the belief systems, reprogramming what it is that your life is going to be applying itself to.
the possible futures, of which there are endless ones for each one of us individually, are those decided upon based on the direction we move in our physical life, or are the possible futures decided on before we come into this physical life?
Both.
And okay, this may be silly, but when we decide on so many possible futures coming into this lifetime, is that because we're not sure what we really want, or
You are very sure about what you want. You have picked this particular planet, the family that you are in, the realities that you are going to experience through that family, and then so on and so on and so on. And the more mature you become, the more you are in control of much of that. You are taking the control system of all that there is. The more you understand, as your awareness grows, you are beginning to expand and see how you can affect your futures, your timelines. And you have certain people, yes, along the lines throughout your life that you have set up to meet, to come in contact with. But whether you set these contracts up many times is still very much up to you, whether things happen the way it is. And yes, you are very right and very accurate about the multiple timelines. And timelines can be changed, even from the future to the going back of them and seeing if it can be improved upon, and also looking at the future, changing what it is that you are in a very moment. You have seen many times people changing on a dime, as you would call it here, very quickly throughout great experiences that they have gone through, whether it may be seemingly negative or positive. They're just new awarenesses that they are putting themselves in front of and allowing this great change and diversion to happen, so that they are entirely different and having quite contrasting lives. Very much of a dual reality. Very could be opposite of each other in the way that they choose to navigate themselves here.
I have a question. I was riding my bike on a trail that I ride all the time, and 2 or 3 minutes before I got to this section of the trail, I had this sudden image of falling on a section coming up. And it's a section of trail that I'd never fallen on before, but it was so vivid, it was weird. And so I just thought to myself, I never fall on that part of the trail, and so I just kept going, and I fell exactly on that part of the trail, just exactly as I had thought. And so my question is, did I cause that to happen, or did I foresee that happening, or is it actually more the case that you can't tell which?
We would say that we personally could not tell which. For you are in multiple realities here. You are having the intuitive sense of what is to come, what is to be, and you also have the guides that are around you that can also see that some of what is there, the temperatures, the things that are around, that creates sort of a situation that could come about. It could be that you were feeling something to be. And many times that is the case as you are about to see something, usually in the very, very near future. You many times, your heart is affected. It is feeling that because the energies are lined up. When the closer the future is, the closer and more accurate it becomes to where it can be a prelude to what is to become.
But it could also be that by having that thought, I created that future.
Yes, and that is indeed. For you all, when you come into certain situations, can be having other thoughts that creates the type of scenarios. For instance, if you transmuted that thought and created a whole other energy, that may have not happened. And there wouldn't even be a discussion here now, as the timelines have changed already, alternating itself.
So that you do have the power to change your thought in that moment when that thought comes in and says, I'm going to fall or have an accident. You can say no.
Very much so.
Well, I did do that because I didn't want to fall. But I still
You
did.
still did.
It is the vibration that is around the thought that creates more of what it is that becomes. If you can change the feeling that that thought was when you have had that thought, then it quite can drastically change the mood of who you are, the vibration, to becoming something different. This is all part of also healing yourself. If there's something that you do not like particularly about what it is that is in your vibration that has changed about it, it is many times the vibration that you're not congruent to. So you change the overall vibration about what it is, well, especially when it is a small thing, not as a long developed sort of chronic major part of yourself now. As you do this, you will quickly close these processes down faster. It is also the way that you are going to manage and harmonize with each other in the near future.
So the key is the emotional aspect of it. So you're right. You're saying that it's the emotional body that gives it the oomph to make it not happen or happen.
We use the emotions as one of the indicators that you have changed the vibrational part of that thought.
Oh.
Isn't a very important key of it too, trusting in yourself? Because it's hard to change the feeling if you don't trust yourself.
You can look at it as a trusting in your own belief system, because what your belief system will be about that thought, he may felt that it would surely happen or surely not.
Surely not is what I was thinking, yeah.
As an example, if he's thinking, I'm not going to do this, but as he's writing, he's thinking, I'm not going to do this.
I'm not.
As a thought, I'm not going to, and if that's a continual thought, that vibration of not going to is the energy that he's focusing on, rather than I'm going to ride comfortably through this situation. Is that not correct?
It's not necessarily that the wants are going to be what will happen. It is the vibration that you have very strongly. He may have been very confident in that situation and still rode through it, and yet he fell. And yet the energy that he was in caused much of that, and yet he may have been tuned in well enough to know that that was a probability, that it was warning, in a sense, a system for himself to know that this sort of thing was going to happen. These things are very confusing, even to us. Why certain things happen the way they do, but it is a chaotic way that you are connecting to the universe in these sorts of ways. It is much where you may have, interestingly enough, these deja vus, these dreams or things to come, these ideas, and yet they seem to happen as you feel like you have experienced much of this before. Usually it is closer to when it is about to happen. It would be similar to how the keeper himself, when he was in religion, they would say that it was a spiritual thing to know these things beforehand. It was a warning system as well. This is much the same as you are feeling the energies of what it is around you, and you may know a little bit beforehand what some things you can avoid, some things that you may have already just barely avoided. For instance, you may also have these visions of things that could happen, that could be dastardly things, that you have gone through a point in your life where you could have passed on, for instance. And those dramatic points sometimes are a cellular memory that you have set up for yourself in some sort of fashion, that you have crossed yourself another milestone in this life. Not a good or bad thing, but these are just things that is a part of you, that you're connected to your own self, your own line of reality, and especially closer as the energy is to becoming itself.
So with that, having a belief that, I can, taking an example, I can ride this bike and I don't have to fall even though I got that premonition. I do believe that we have control over that. Is that an acceptable belief to have?
Absolutely. If he were to get off his bike and walk, he would have not quite have fallen the same way that it would have happened.
That's what I thought later. That was my
But it is hard for you to know. We would say that is true. It is hard for you to know whether that was a prelude to what it was going to be, just a fear-based idea, or what it could be. Read into the
It wasn't
energy.
fear. I know that was the weird thing about it, because I'd never fallen on that section. There are other sections where I've fallen before, and yeah, I do have fear, and a lot of times I won't write. I'll just get off on those sections. But this one, it was just strange because it was so vivid, and it didn't seem to have emotion around it like fear at all. It was like, well, I've never fallen there. I'm not going to fall there. And sure enough, I fell there. It was like, whoa, what the hell
Now-
just happened here?
And the
Maybe
possibility.
it's like a test. I mean, a realization within saying that this is how we connect to this energy. It's chaotic, and the realization that you're realizing that, oh, I am connected. Maybe the whole thing was just about you
Yeah.
having an awareness that you.
Well, next time I'm going to get off and ride.
Yeah,
or
I think
walk that
that's-
section when I get that image.
Was part of it an increased propensity because of the lay of the land? In addition to his.
We are not going to talk about the exact situation that he was in, for it is going to be quite different than what we would understand it even to be. You have your own reality here that is very much connected, and yes, you are all part of your own energy field that is around you. And as you get closer to events that are about to happen, you're very more accurate, especially when you don't have quite the emotions about it. Now, we said emotions earlier to detect how you are feeling about it, for that is the vibration that you feel on with something. But it is also, without the emotions, you can also see things that is in a much broader view, as you would see, for instance, with meditation. We would like to talk about certain things about this in a different way. This is changing gears a little bit. But we see that there has been for a long time that you have been these different vibrations as you enter in these buildings and things to do, for instance, your work, your at-home activities. You are one person here, and you're one vibration over here, and yet you've had these very different vibrations that have been happening throughout your life, where you are a different person over here. This has been the mechanism of being able to harmonize with all that there is. But as these barriers are coming down now, as you have gone through a recent shift in some of these things, we would just like to say much of this is going to fall away. You are centering more of yourself into a much more narrower vibration of what it is that you are, because more of yourself is coming through. The non-physical part of yourself, the multi-dimensional part of yourself is coming through, and you are becoming a more dominant vibration, where these multiple vibrations that you have, these stories that you tell these people over here, this way of being over here, is not going to quite serve you like it did in the past. It is going to be that you are naturally going to behold the more true part of yourself, and bring that and carry that with you everywhere you go. That is part of the way, we would say, stepping up. Shine your light of who you are that precedes you. Shine what is within yourself before you. As you are naturally going through your activities, you are going to be more congruent with who you are and how you are in every situation and every being that you meet. That creates more and more of what it is that you would like to see within this reality. The harmonization will naturally take its course as this process is changing here on this earth, as these dynamics are already coming together, as people are more accepting of each other. As you can see throughout the histories up until this point, there has been a great change throughout even just these last few 100 years, even the last few 30 years. There's been great changes, although there has been some that have been trying to keep these things against and persisting and pushing against this resistance to some of this. There has still been great breakthroughs that have been happening here.
So to put that into practice, as a profession, I'm in sales, and I try really hard to get to know with my customers what they like and what they do, and I know just based on the region of the United States that I go to, I know that if I'm in Wisconsin, Minnesota, we talk about fishing for walleye, and so I've learned how to be a chameleon and kind of sync up with the customer and what matters to them. And so what you're saying is now what I should try is to stand more in who I am, and that they'll actually honor that, respect that more.
It is a natural process that this is happening. We are not saying that you need to go and focus yourself in this sort of way, to be chronically trying to not harmonize with those around you. It is very quite the opposite. We are also saying to harmonize with all that there is. But as you are doing this, you are harmonizing with yourself. You are harmonizing with the vibration that is within yourself. And what is congruent that is happening there creates somewhat of an anchoring, more of an anchoring of the trueness that you are, that you would like to have precede yourself, that energy that you are. You are harnessing and anchoring and bringing more of your true part of, we wouldn't say true part, you have always had a part, but you are bringing more of yourself together here now. And that becomes more of a greater domination, and that ability to have that chameleon effect of being able to vibrate with other people is well and good. But the story of yourself, of what you say about yourself, that's what we would say you are harmonizing, becoming more congruent, and we would say be a good thing to a well thing for you to be able to understand yourself, know thyself, trust thyself, as was mentioned here.
Oh, so for example, like for the keeper, was in the Mormon Church for a long time, and then found that wasn't for him. Would you say that as we go into a group of people, that we're going to find it easier to stay ourselves within this group and not be drawn and pulled in different directions?
We would say that your vibrations are going to be changing, and there are going to be some that won't be quite on board with this, but as you understand and come into your awareness that this particular group especially has been embarking itself on, that this does become a part of yourself in the way that as you expand and unfold your life, you are also bringing in more of the energy. Look at it, for instance, as a plant. As it matures, you see the greatness of the plant. As it matures, it also withers away eventually. Yes, some of those things don't look as well, but it becomes full of life. It becomes itself. It becomes what it is. It becomes very strong, dominant in its way of living. Nature has this sort of way of doing these things about itself. But then there is also these plants that are also crowded and having a hard time trying to vibrate with the things that are around itself as well. So we're using this fashion to see in nature what is happening here. When you have a garden that you are focusing much of attention, and it has all the ways that it can grow in its own particular way, it tends to grow with a little more fullness. And as those things are directed, the things that are within yourself is given all the opportunities to use the tools that it has around it, organize itself in the way that it wants to become. As you are taking the controls of all those things, that becomes the mastery of much of the energy that is around you. And so, to answer your question, as we are going off on many different tangents here, it is simply that you are changing vibrationally as you are maturing. And some of those things are going to be falling away as you are also having more of yourself come in and become more dominant. And as you are exploring and having different experiences here, you are going to manifest and bring more of yourself naturally through these patterns, these habits that you have. There's going to be a change of force, a change of direction, a change of your awareness to what you are, and it will cause you to go about to do things a little bit differently that can be a greater good if you manipulate it in that sort of way.
So is it not true that with what we've been talking about, that aspect of life where you can be yourself more overall, I have a lot of people that I know that feel they have no control over a lot of part of their lives, even though they do. But I notice too that those particular people, they still think they have to hide a part of who they are in a lot of aspects, say their work, say their church, opposed to being around close friends or like this group where they can completely be themselves. So upon that, when they're asking, how come this part of my life I have no control of, would it be fair or conducive to steer them towards the idea of be yourself more all the time, become more comfortable with that?
The concept of be yourself is going to be drastically different. Much of religion, for instance, much of the schooling doesn't teach much about who you are. The systems that are around you don't really center about what it is that you are. You come to know yourself as you discover yourself in these ways, as you discover yourself in both the good and the bad. As you might be in this group now, you may be putting off some of the darker things so that you can be a little more lighter in this sort of group. But you are in completion of all of those things. You are a part of all of the vibration that is around here, even the darkest of dark things and the lightest of light things as well. You are a part of these things. These are ideas. These are a part of yourself. As these emotions, these rides of experience that you are moving through, these vastness of great things that are happening around you. Great things, whether it's great in nature in a good way or what you would see as a negative or less preferable thing. There are things about all of these that is a part of your nature, the part of the nature of you understanding and it growing and expanding. And so what it is for them to be not quite understanding these and being in their own parts of their own thing is not a good or bad thing. It is just a new path, a path that they may have wanted before this life, to see what it is like to be very limited, to really try to be a part of these associations that they are in, to gain these experiences of what it is like to not be this, because they may have had lifetimes where they weren't in any sort of religion and they weren't in any sort of centered sort of thing where they couldn't experience what that was like. And so this brings them a contrast, having what you would see a limited thing, a view about themselves. They are gaining a new perspective by being in such dogmas as you may see it. As you are gaining new perspectives, as you awaken from some of that and look at your life and see how much you can experience and master and bring parts of your heaven here to this earth.
So it's all about the experience, really, the teacher.
It is all about the experience of what it is that life is to you.
Is it also about then being aware of coming to that full awareness of who we are, and then with that, out of that, knowing more completely who we are based on that, living that who we are, and then in that, there's no resistance. We just kind of flow in it and go through the natural expansion that we would go through. Is that a true statement?
It is very, very partially true.
Very confusing.
You must see that human sees very limited parts of themselves. You are very limited beings. You are chasing very small things. You spend much of your time chasing after very small things. You are also in this vibration that is a very limited vibration. You are seeing very, very closely a small range of colors, range of emotions even, ranges of things. You have more of an emotional scale than most biology that is around the universe. Yes, that may be true, but the ranges of what you can see is so very vastly small. But it is purposefully that you experience these things in the way that there is this veil, this very complex veil, for eternity, linear time. For all of these things are very different in a reality in this plane. To truly to come to know what you are, you will never quite understand the expandedness of what you are, the whole of who you are, because of the fracturedness that you are in this particular reality. Everything here comes imperfectly in its own natural form, even the way you perceive yourself.
So in that, in what you're just speaking about, and that was lovely, the way that you put it was just a lovely way of putting that. This group is ready to expand. Is this an environment you could share some expanded energy with us?
You are getting expanded energy. You have all been expanding throughout this time of your existence. There's not one thing that is going to do it. It is not one magical thing that we may say, as you brought up recently, that we are not a magic wand, for instance, that will create a scenario that would bring you the ahas. But we will bring you multiple ideas about those things to maybe persuade you to try and to experience and to allow yourself to make these mistakes, to understand more of what it is that you can do as you create the beauty that you are, the masterpiece of your life. You are allowed the greatness of all that you are, and all the dreams that are within you, and all the dreams that have not been dreamt yet, that you are coming to. Things that are just out of the reach, that are on your horizon. Allow yourself these ideas. And begin to master the moment that you are in.
You know, if we understood the other side of the veil maybe a little bit better, that might be helpful. I got a question about, from the perspective of the wisdom coming through, is this process of you coming through the keeper, is that a manifestation of yours, number one? And two, if it is a manifestation of your focus and perspective, what is the compensation to you for that happening?
It's the timelines that we would like to exchange here, for we are not exactly happy about what the futuristic part of how things have been playing. So we are manipulating somewhat of a past time that has happened here, and allowing to see if we can create a better universe, a better understanding, a better harmonization with all that there is, an overall idea, creating a level that is more congruent with what it is that we are. For you are a part of us as we are a part of you in a very different way. For we are non-physical, you are a physical sort of being, and yet we are very connected into the realities that we are, into the universe that we are. It is part of the reality that as you bring this small little bits of reality to be and become what it is, the master of all the things that are within the lives and the dynamics that you play a part of. You create yourself a better future, a better part of yourself, and that propels the expansion of yourself faster. It brings much of this forward, and it is our wonderful love to be a part of these things, to see the nature of expandedness, to see the nature of how light can move and travel and create, and to be able to enjoy the ideas of what it can be that people can release themselves in a... We want to be careful about how we say this here and that not be misunderstood, that you can take off more of these limitations that you have and become and try on other things as you are naturally doing, as the natural progression is, and also allow the harmonization that is a part of all that you are, as you are connected to the earth, as you are connected to the universe, and graduate as far as yourselves into this new way of being. And this new way of being is part of the non-physical, of the things that you are not quite seeing, but you are sensing in great detail, and you are bringing about this in parts of your lives. That is a part of what we enjoy here.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and that is very close to a magic wand.
Well, and it's also close to connecting more or integrating more efficiently with non-physical. I mean, essentially, I got the impression what you said is that we're moving closer to that connection with non-physical, the likes of which is removing the limitation and seeing the broader perspective. Is that?
You are meshing two different vibrations, the bubble of biology, this plane of reality, and who it is that you are, the non-physical part, and we would say the greater part of what it is that you are. As you are coming into these two arrays, these realities, and you're meshing more of yourself, basically holding more light for yourself, holding more parts of yourself within this idea, this framework. You are mastering and you are allowing for more to happen, and you are allowing more of the creation process to be stronger in this way of being. And as you understand these processes and you allow yourself to apply these processes, and you allow yourself the idea that you can become these creators of your reality, then you begin and you start organizing yourselves in a way. You start progressing towards what it is that is a natural feeling within yourselves, that is the natural mastery of yourselves, that is the natural part that brings you into the congruency of why you came into being in this reality in this sort of way. And not for everyone this is going to be the case, but for many of you this is. This is the awakening that is a part of yourselves.
So we're not just limiting out old beliefs while we're doing that. We're also creating new beliefs as it relates to our ability to work with non-physical. Is that a true statement?
We believe it is. I'm sorry, we missed parts of the question. There was a transfer of energy.
I was saying that in addition to limiting out the old beliefs, which really support our being and being more of who we can be, we're also creating new beliefs, the likes of which support us integrating with the non-physical. New beliefs about being able to do that, and in so also remove some limitations and create a more expanded person of who we can be or whatever.
Yes, you are bringing on a new energy of who you are in these belief systems. And you are naturally taking on new belief systems, and you're also moving about through these belief systems. Some will be stuck in their dogmas, stuck in their belief systems, and it is well and fine. Many times, like we had mentioned before, this is part of the expansionness. If you understand the idea of why they had become in these sort of ways to be in these energies and things. But as you are also taking on new belief systems, as you are also understanding that you are part of this idea that you can create something of a new future for yourself, that you can do much of what it is that you would like to have that is in your heart, that you can be congruent and balanced and more a part of your life in the mind and the body, the spirit of what it is that you have, and create this great grand balance that is around all that you are, then you are now playing with all the keys that are around you, supported by all that is there, being congruent with who you are, and in not trying to thwart something like being the chameleon, being the harmonizer, but being even more the part of the greater orchestra, being more of the sound, the light, the shiningness of who you are, that brings the great vibration, that brings the great sympathy to life, to bring the great recipe of the brownies, for instance, to its chocolatey source.
I like to say that each of us is a unique ingredient to that brownie. Each of us is a unique instrument in that orchestra, and that is our gift to creation.
That is right.
And isn't it true that if we are able to get past our blockages and become more accepting of those parts of ourselves when we grow and expand and become more of who we are, then every encounter that we have with any other individual is going to receive an effect of my being who I am.
Yes, and that is correct. And that is much of the cause and effect to things.
Isn't it?
Would you not agree, though, that part of the dynamic that comes from what I felt with your statement is that there are aspects of who you are that you haven't been comfortable with. And I think that as we learn to express ourselves more, we'll resist those things less, and they might just go away too.
We aren't saying to resist those things, but we would say that you are understanding preferences to things. And as you are looking at your preferences, to chronically look at what it is that you like to see with those things that you are involved with, the things that you would like to be involved with, that you're not yet involved with, and yet the things that you have not even thought to be involved with, that is also part of that your beingness in vibration into longing to be, even though it is not part of your vibration now. Those are the things that naturally progress in itself, its vibrations, to not be resisting, because that does create a limitation. It does create a slowing down of understanding and processing what is happening here. But to allow yourself the things that you would like to have, to allow yourself the new ideas about how you perceive certain things, such as abundance, such as wellness, such as the things that have been maybe a struggle in some cases. Maybe the overall astounding belief system that has been taken on by all that is around you. And so it must be this way, for it is viewed throughout much of everything to be viewed this way. So it must be this concept. But you are finding even within religion of one Bible, there is many a variety of religions about how to understand the different verses and things from the same parts of Scripture. Even the translations are all changing, and even how it all came to be is a variety that is happening here. There is many vast of vibrations to be able to express what it is that spirituality is to all the human factors, and the multiple religions of not just, we're talking the Bible, but the facets of many different ideas that are here. It is part of the overall humanity and how it expresses itself. For many of them will wish to put God out there as something that is separated from themselves, and it is because it is a comfort. But we are saying, as you are understanding who you are, you will see that there is a bit of God in all things. There's a bit of creation on all things, divine and sacredness in all that there is around you. And as you tap into much of these energies that are available to you, and know the source and the divine source that you are, and the way that you can create much of what it is that you have in this reality of things, that you can become the vibration that you are prominently doing. For all vibrations here are different in their own ways, and all will see spirituality in their own particular ways. All will have their own arrays of passion in their own unique ways, and that is what makes this place, this limited place as you may see it, a vast, great, wonderful idea of new expandingness, of a new freedom, and a new way of looking. And you are playing with this energy on this wonderful reality that you are all a part of.
You know, it's interesting as you describe it. That, I mean, there's a feeling that you can see that, and you can see it clearly, and yet walking it in the real world, sometimes you maybe it's the energy. I don't know, because in the moment, walking it outside in the world, sometimes that vision isn't held fastly in one's mind to see it as it was just described. That if we could do that, would propel us to be very different in every moment.
Yes, it is purposely that the human sees things in its own way, and it is fine also.
Is this a experiment in free will, where we're actually observing, like the conversation we had before you came in, that you observed from another space, about someone who actually did an extraordinary feat and was renowned for that, actually came out of it with had everything and then we'll have nothing, because it came from a source that wasn't true, wasn't pure, it wasn't a spiritual source. It was some other type of source. So are we actually getting some?
There's multiple
information
things
here?
in your question that we would like to touch on here. It is that we're not saying to focus on spirituality necessarily, and we are also saying that Lance Armstrong, did understand many different things from these experiences that are here. It is an overall vibration that is all around this planet that creates the light that is expanding into all the dark places. People are becoming more accountable for themselves. He is gaining something, for he could have hidden this for much of a long time. And we're not going to take a sort of a side on any of these things, but we want you to see that there is not a negative or a positive in all of these scenarios that you see much of this reality in, that there is a greatness that is all about you all about even Lance Armstrong, that he was able to do certain things even with the things that he was provided, and used the different tools differently, and even the deceptive tools differently. But these are allowing, and this is also part of this vibration. It is also coming a part of the chaos of things, for you are seeing with the chaos that is happening throughout this earth, and there's going to be always chaos that is here, for it is allowing, you are seeing that you are a mesh to these vibrations that are here, that you are sometimes deceitful in some ways to try to get the advantage of someone else, and many times this is the case on your own specific little scenarios that are happening around you in order to win the race of life. Competing against each other, to compete for the girl, to compete for whatever it may be. There's many vast ways that you are doing these similar vibrations, and yet sometimes you will see these extraordinary things that are happening, these dastardly things that are happening, that are created out of much of this. It is an allowance, it is alignment that this planet has to much of these things. You must see the overall grand picture, that these are a part of yourselves, reflections of who you are.
So he basically, in the life path that he's experiencing now, is a really great example to all of us as to, where our truth center lies in what we're willing to do to accomplish certain things in life. We could always go so far, sometimes maybe not far enough, but that's a huge example of taking it beyond the limits of reality, and now the consequences are there. I look at that and have to apply it to myself and say, what would I be really willing to do? How far would I go? And what would the consequences be for my own growth?
Yes, and that happens on different levels. Especially with relationships, there are things that people will try to take and see how far they can go with hiding certain things. There are all sorts of dynamics to this. But do realize the fundamental part of this is you are all understanding each other. As the veils are somewhat coming down, as the harmony is beginning to be about, and the light is beginning to shine in all the dark areas, that there is going to be much around you that you are gaining, that you are seeing now, that you are going to explore, you're going to decide for yourselves what should be a part of this vibration of planet Earth, of humanity, of yourself, your life, that you would like to be a part of or not. And as the voices begin to rise, as people stand in their own power and begin to hold more of their light, it is going to be the process of who you are, the expandedness of all that there is, as you are moving through these great, wonderful times of enjoying this part of Earth, of this part of this plane of reality.
So wouldn't it help us out a little bit if, I know words are just words, but we're letting go and surrendering a lot of our old beliefs that don't work. And instead of taking on new beliefs, understanding that we have the knowledge from the moment of the experience to say, I know that. So why would I have to believe that instead of taking on using the word belief or taking on a new belief, just understanding I know what I just learned. Now that instills in the real me something more soluble or solid than the word belief, because we play, as humans, we play with that word belief and belief. And we tend to go beyond. It's almost like we do more cheating when we believe it's okay instead of knowing it's not. Do you understand what
We simply use belief as one of the words that is here. For it is very hard for us many times to try to say exactly what things truly mean and all the different dynamics that you have available here in the structure of reality. We also use things like reprogramming yourselves, re-understanding the part of what it is that you have understood. Looking at the dynamics of your life a little bit differently, looking at things with a new perspective, and allowing yourself the many different arrays that are part of processing yourself through ideas. And we're not trying to say that there is one way to do it and the only way. We say you are the gamekeepers here. Right. You are the ones that are playing this wonderful game of being a human. Do play well together. Do create the game. Do enjoy. Cheat. And we mean that in the way that it is allow yourself the mistakes, for you are understanding yourself in these ways. Cheat to the things that create the success for yourself in the ways that it will be beneficial, a win-win situation for all. And we're not saying to go about it like Lance Armstrong, that was a part of these things, but as you feel, not feeling congruent with those things, not feeling the way you feel about those things you do not enjoy. Do look at those indicators, allow them to precede you, and bring more of what it is that you would like to feel. And if that does not feel congruent to you, do not do that. These belief systems that you have here, these ideas, these are parts of who you are. And sometimes it can be good, it can be dark, and it can be bad. But you are looking at all the dynamics that are a part of these things. Look at these things within yourselves in the greater depth that is usually looked at. That is a part of getting to know yourself in such a way. So we say belief systems, but we do say there is much more to this process, yes, that is there. And what creates the solid part of your vibration is going to be the dominant force of what it is that you are acting into now. What naturally feels after you have these desires, these ideas, these thoughts that come into form. What is the actions? What is the new pattern that you are designing for yourself? What is going to be the habits that you are? Because much of what you do now, good or bad, or jousting what you think is good or bad, is going to be these patternings that you have within yourselves, that you're proceeding before you go into these situations. Allow yourself this idea. You do not need to continue to joust at these things. Allow yourself the idea that you can re-look at these things and re-look at the belief systems behind this, or not even look at the idea that it is a belief system, but that it is a part of yourself. Look at the feelings that you have, for instance. Look at all the dynamics that you have available. The intuitive parts that Steve had experienced in the chaos of all the things that are around you. For these are experiences that you will continue to be a part of. And we are a part of also understanding what it is to be the expandedness of all that you are.
You must believe in us.
You must believe in the non-physical as well. Or you wouldn't be sitting here.
I knew that was coming. I knew exactly that was coming. That was a premonition, like him falling down on a bike. I knew it was coming.
I have a strange question, and I'm known for strange questions, but the thought occurred to me.
We prefer those kind, actually.
Do you? Okay, well, you'll enjoy this. If all living things instantly did not exist on this planet anymore, what would happen to the source?
what would happen to the source of what? Because the source of all that there is about this planet is always going to be a source. It is like what we had mentioned in the past, the energy is always changing, moving in and out of form. What happens when this planet goes into this place that you call the black hole and becomes bits of dust? What happens then? It is redesigned itself. It is reforming itself. It is all designing. You see death as very interesting ways of being a human here as the limiting part of what life is. But life is always moving in and out of form. If you did not have a life here, there would be another place, another source of a life somewhere else that you can be gaining and having wondrous experiences in. There's not just one limited way of looking at this. You have very much a grand scenario of many alternate ways of being.
Plus, the earth and the air is also a source.
So,
Well, I just wondered what happened to, because we don't see him, I feel his presence
Source.
here, who's
Source
talking
presence?
through him, who's
Oh.
talking through
Oh.
The
him.
non-physical.
The non-physical is just, a long time ago someone told me after I asked, so what happens after we're done here? I mean, when we're done here, what happens when we're done here?
you choose.
And I was told, oh, honey, don't worry about it. You just go somewhere else and start over.
But we could talk for hours on
Start
that.
over.
Yeah,
But
good.
I mean, what I guess I was saying is because we have the physical realm here, so spirit is going to be spirit regardless of if it's attached to a physical form, no matter where that happens to be.
Even if it's in a black hole, is what he's
Yes.
saying.
Even as in
Yes.
a black hole, which
Yes.
is what I was
Right.
getting to. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Perfect. I like that.
Yeah, I thought you said what if things that exist now suddenly didn't, including spirit, and that really isn't a question you can ask because you're eternal, I'm eternal. So, I mean,
And spirit is part of all things. So if there was no humans on this world, spirit would still be here.
I was just checking.
yeah, good question though. I have this analogy that I've been thinking through, and I wanted to test this with you. So, imagine a tree with a whole lot of leaves, and of course, every single leaf on this tree is unique, not identical to any other leaves on this tree. And each one of these leaves has a consciousness. And each one of these leaves, when it's being birthed, chooses to forget that it's attached to the tree. Right? And so, could you say, would this be a good analogy, that source is the whole tree, the limbs are, say, archangels and other kinds of beings, and that we're each of those leaves, and for a long time we didn't know that we were attached to this tree because we chose that we chose that veil that blocked our knowingness. So we still had life coming through to the leaf, and we still were exchanging, but we didn't really know that there was anything else but just us as a leaf. And oh, look at all these other leaves, and they're also unique, and they're not attached. And then, would you say that what we're doing now is coming to the realization that we've always been attached to that tree, and that we're all a part of the one in that sense?
Yes, we would say that is a good analogy of what it is that you understand about your reality, for it is a very narrow one. The environment of a leaf is very limited. It is just simply that they are there, and they are attached to the source that is all about them, but they don't quite understand how they're attached, what the meaning of a trunk of a tree is, what the root system quite really is, but their function is many times entirely very different than the tree. And yes, even every leaf on a tree does have its own consciousness, and that is a very accurate description of the actuality of a leaf itself. It's the beauty that you are individually as a human being connected to the source. Yes, the source of all that you are, the source of the infinite, the source of the air that is all connecting that leaf to all that there is, then the light that is connected to all of the universe that is connecting and shining throughout much of what is around it. And the expandedness of what that little vibration is doing in that little breeze that is affecting all the other as the whole of its source of this planet, for instance, as a human being would be a part of itself, that creates the dynamic, creates the health of the overall tree, creates the organism's fashion of being able to support itself. And as each leaf would have its own preferences of how much sun might be there, how much of what it is it's getting, or the health of each leaf may be even slightly different. And what is the experiences of each leaf, or there could be birds in this tree, squirrels, or any other sorts of animals that it may experience, and other sorts of things like the effects of things. There may be dual realities that are happening within these leaves that are there. And that would be very much an accurate concept of seeing what it is that you are as human beings connected to this wonderful planet of vibration that you are a part of, and what kind of health that you would like to bring about. What kind of energy would you like to harness for that part of yourselves? And we're not saying that it is just to be the leaf and to express yourself in such a whole, but also to be expressing yourself within yourself. What is the source that you are connected to? What is the part of all that is around you? And how can you create the beauty that you would like to be as the leaf itself, or as the entirety that you are a part of? Each of you are allowing yourselves these dynamics of who you are. You are understanding much. Nature does support much of these ideas, and you see much wisdom in what is all about you, especially within this beautiful earth that you live in, which has much grand produce, much flavors here, much wonders that are a part of it. It is a very unique place to be a part of this reality, this type of vibration. Do expand yourselves, dear ones. You have much available. Allow the tools, allow the air that you breathe to reset much of who you are. Allow the light to be brought in. And create yourself the dynamics that you would like to have, even if the whole of the tree does not seem quite as wonderful as you were hoping it to be. You can make much of the part of who it is that you are into that.
As always, you've clarified so much for me in the last 24 hours that I just say thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And we thank you for being a part of this. It is our honor to be among these times and to be among you all. These wonderful vibrations that you are. Play well together, respect and honor each other, and smile your way home. It is our wonderful time to be a part of this, and we say smile your way home in terms of the greater home that you are, the greater source of that tree. And so it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of that.